Hello, world. Hi. Hello. Welcome. I am DM Dan. This is Explorers of Elsewhere Live. We're here for another, the first Tales from Elsewhere of 2025. How's about that, eh? I can see lots of bars going up, so I assume everyone can hear me, and I assume you can hear these 5 wonderful players. Hello, Nate.
Hello.
Hello, Livy.
Hello.
Hello, Georgia.
Hello.
Hello, Theo.
Hello.
Hello, Dan.
Ahoy.
How has your 2025 treated you so far?
Snowy. Wet.
Snow.
Flood and snow.
Yep.
How British are we, eh? When asked how the new year is, we default to weather.
Extreme weather.
Help ourselves.
It's been extreme weather, so
It's extreme for us.
Extreme weather for us.
It's extreme weather.
It's been a whole flurry of snow.
That's true. That is very, very true. Well, yeah, we are here to play some Daggerheart. When we last played, I had been usurped by
And you're going to be usurped again. No.
usurped by the man to my stage right. I mean, it was all right.
Thanks.
No, it was very, very good.
Tell that to the views on that video, Dan.
We had larks. You all found out why you shouldn't allow me to play a character. But yeah, it was all good. But now we're back for spoilers. The final tale before campaign 3 on the channel goes live. We haven't really, well, I suppose we've spoken a little bit about campaign 3 on the channel. We've recently wrapped up Elysia Rising, of which Nate over here was a prime member. Yeah, it was all fun. It was all good. But yeah, campaign 3 is around the corner. While we're waiting for that to launch, we have this final tale. It's going to last 5 streams, so there's going to be like 10 halves worth of content coming out over the next 10-ish weeks. And I'm excited for it. Who would like to jump into the title screen and get this thing started?
yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yes, please.
All across the unknown world, rediscovery pushes ever onwards to find the lands and people lost. All thanks to our brave explorers.
Hi, I'm Dan, and I'm playing Vanya, the Wolfkin Warrior.
Hey, I'm Livy. I'm going to be playing Rayri, the Sprite Ranger.
Hi, my name's Theo and I'm playing Cal, the Sangvar Guardian.
I'm Georgia, and I will be playing Alfric Stormhorn, a Dragon Scent Bard.
Hi, I'm Nate, and I'm playing Azakar, a Majani Seraph.
And my name is DM Dan, the GM in these adventures. The further we go, the more we learn of these magical tales from elsewhere. And so, oh, hello Daisy. Oh, you're watching yourself. Hi. And so, we find 5 explorers in the city of Avermore. A bastion of civilization, arguably the strongest and most prominent since the events of the calamitous eschaton just over 18, probably 19-ish months ago. A sprawling city of commerce. It's proven to be, for all intents and purposes, the capital of the recently and newly rediscovered Elsewhere. And as we saw between the spires of the Tower District, as we saw over the roofs of the Crown District, of the Guilds District, we find... Who do we find first? We head into the merchants' quarter on the west side of the city to a curious shop with two entrances. One of air quote standard size, 6 foot, just over 6 foot doors, and a second slightly smaller door just to the right of it. And a freshly painted sign hangs above the larger of the two doors, that swings ever so slightly in the gentle breeze. A freshly painted sign that says Tippy Taps. The sign has a pair of purple pointy shoes emblazoned on it, and there's a lot of commotion as the citizens of Avamore peer at this new shop. It's recently been established, demonstrated by the swarm of sprites of all elements, moving in and out, building things, potting plants, just kind of getting the place set up. And watching it, perhaps, is a Ignan sprite, orange-skinned, hair that glows remarkably like magma, stood alongside a 4 foot tall chihuahua type creature. Rayri, what had you been doing to help the families of Islebridge set up their first venture in Avamore?
Just Ravi's helping them find premises. I mean, it was Ravi's idea to bring them over this way. She thought there's a massive untapped market of people wanting tiny shoes. And her and Vinny have been helping set up shop. She's been using Vinny as a cart horse to bring as many tiny shoes into the city as possible, and spreading the word among anyone that might want to know about tiny shoes. Or large shoes, not just tiny shoes, but mainly tiny shoes.
Sure. In which case, yeah, as you're watching this, you spy from your point, or from your place in the crowd, a slightly older, which one would it be? It would be a slightly older looking Aquan sprite. She's kind of leaning on a cane watching all the construction, and every so often she's sort of like authoritatively kind of pointing and directing workforce into various directions. And Tiber Fisby, matriarch of Clan Fisby of Islebridge, having recently relocated to the city of Avamore, notices you in the crowd, gives you a little wave. And sort of like, as she kind of glances at you, she turns round and kind of chastises her daughter, Capuline, who's sort of like who bumps into one of the workforce, like one of the labourers, as she and her adventuring partner, Montana, kind of rush out, getting ready to head up to the Adventures Guild for their first assignment. You hear Tiber kind of giving a very parental, very motherly, like, talking to her. Make sure you stay safe, and you make sure you write. Don't come back. And I'm not just here to clean your clothes. And that, and it cuts through the chatter of the gathered crowds. But you, as you watch this, Rayri, you feel a presence alongside you, and you see a courier, denoted by the grey and blue uniform that they wear. Miss Rayri?
Yeah?
I have a missive for you, the Lorivar man says.
Oh, okay.
And he hands you a small letter, and you notice it's stamped with a wax seal. You realise, an emblem of a ring with 3 different crowns in like a triangle around the ring. And the courier asks you to sign for the letter, and then kind of bows and takes his leave. And you see he just sort of like jogs off into the crowd, like messenger bag.
I give him a load of flyers. He leaves 25% off Tippy Tap.
Thank you. That gets stuffed into the messenger bag, which then sort of like flaps behind him as he runs back off into the crowd. But yeah, you have this letter. I mean, is there anything? Was there anything in particular that you were doing around Tippy Taps while I was setting up, or were you just sort of like hanging around, see if you could help, just watching?
Talking, flyering.
Sure.
Giving out 25% off.
Sure.
Your Tippy Taps with code RAYRY.
Okay. Yeah, in which case, yeah, you look down at this small, like, enveloped letter. The envelope is made from a very rich, very kind of heavy-feeling vellum. It looks pretty high-end. And the sigil on the wax stamp is the symbol of Avamore's, like, ruling nobility, like, ruling council. The culmination of the faith, the mages, and the crown.
Oh, I hope I'm not in trouble. Hope it's not jury duty. I hate that.
Well, as you peer at it and ponder, we move our attentions to... so where are we in the Merchants Guild? Merchants Quarter. So let's head... we head northeast over the river that bisects the city of Avamore, over the park and the walls of the castle of the Crown District, to the very ostentatious Towers District, named for, quite unimaginatively, the rising towers that kind of pierce into the skyline. Some even constructed on floating moats of land above the city, chained to other towers to kind of keep them in place. And within the heart of the Towers District is a building of breathtaking architectural beauty, made of gleaming white stone, polished silver and gold embellishments, and proudly emblazoned in stained glass over the almost impossibly large doors at the top of a grand sweeping set of stairway, the Grand Temple of Aya. And inside, amongst the robed clergy of the Dragon Mother, the leader of the Pantheon of 12, we find a Majani man. What's Azakar doing?
Azakar is probably meditating. Mm-hmm. He's not been called onto for any missions, so he is using that time to sort of reflect and meditate his mind, his body, his manner, just to prepare himself for what he might be called on for next.
Sure. As you hear a sort of like a murmured blessing from a passing cleric as they walk past you, and there is a low but reverberant chorus of song kind of echoing through these vaulted halls, displaying there are 12 windows in total, each a stained glass display of the 12 dragons that make up the pantheon. You note that there are 8 alcoves which once held stained glass windows, which have since been bricked up. You know that they used to be the positions of the 8 gods who turned against Aya during the war. The betrayers. But basking in the light that emanates down through these 12 windows at the far end of the temple is this 16 foot tall, slender, white scaled dragon spawn, looking somewhat like his brood mother Aya. This spawn of Aya sits on its kind of rear haunches, its long neck, kind of weaving back, like from left to right, as it leads the choir of hymnal song from the gathered kind of adherents. His 4 feathered wings pulled in tight, like cascading down his slender body and spilling out across the marble floor, almost like a gown. And light emanates from the horizontal ring horn shape above his head, looking almost like a halo of light framing his head. And as Aya's spawn sort of like sings softly, you hear a voice behind you that's not as kind of quiet or reverent as the other voices in this place. Mr. Azakar?
Yes?
I have a missive for you. And you turn to see a Avamore courier, grey and blue uniform with a enveloped letter.
He takes a letter. Thank you.
The courier nods, has you sign, and then as he turns to leave, he stops. This Laravar man stops and then looks back, and he lowers his head, mutters a quick prayer to Aya, and then runs out with this messenger bag flapping behind him. We turn our attentions to the guild district in a building significantly more quiet than the Grand Temple of Aya, and ferreted away deep within the Avamore archival library is a light blue scaled dragon scent, lost in the maze of corridors of 4-story tall bookshelves, with interconnecting walkways, staircases up and down, a veritable army of clerks and kind of library workers putting books back in, refiling, kind of up, making sure that the books are in decent order. But Alfric, what is it you're doing in this library?
I feel like to look at him, you would think he was a very studious student of some kind. He's kind of sitting at a table, he's surrounded by books, sort of to the extent where he's kind of built a little book fortress for himself. Mm-hmm. But then you look closer at the books and you realise he's basically taken all of the fairy tale, like, adventure books from what... This library probably doesn't have a kids section, but if it did, this would be where they're from. and he's studiously poring over all of the adventure, heroic books that he's become so used to reading at home, and he's staring at them so intently. He is learning, he is absorbing. The last few adventures for him haven't gone very well. He is determined not to let that happen again.
Okay. In which case, yeah, as you, like, somewhat barricaded in by your kind of piles of books, you hear a voice say, "Mr. Stormhall?" And the silence is punctuated by a shh from a nearby clerk. And this courier, "Oh, Mr. Stormhall?"
Hello, that's me, yes.
I have a missive for you.
Oh. Is it for my parents?
The courier kind of looks at you for a moment and then, and then rifles around in the messenger bag and produces 2 envelopes. Both look like, both envelopes are made from good quality stock. But yeah, you notice one is sealed with a like a royal blue wax seal. One is sealed with a royal blue wax seal, which you, in your time in Avonmore, is like the colour, the hue of wax used denotes that it's part of the ruling councils. But you notice the other envelope. You immediately recognise the handwriting on the front as being your parents.
He'll take both envelopes and sort of tuck that one away in his robes somewhere.
Sure. In which case, the courier nods, has you sign for it, and then, "Good day," he whispers, and then. Like, it looks like he's about to start kind of running, like jogging from the spot where he's in, and then he stops, realises he's in a library, and then, like, tiptoes out as quickly and quietly as he can, leaving you in the library with your tomes. We move away from the archival library to a much more rowdy location. The sounds of clashing steel, of guttural grunts, of practiced footwork ring out in this outdoor, like, fenced off courtyard. There are a number of kind of practice target dummies, practice dummies target like round archery targets, and there are a myriad of curious looking folk of all heritages practicing their martial crafts, whether it be swordscraft, bowcraft, spellcraft. And in the middle, off to the side perhaps, is a brooding, slightly older Asavar man with piercing red eyes. What's going on with you, Cal?
Cal is very intently working through his sword techniques. In particular, one that is similar to the ability of the whirlwinds that he has, trying to make sure that he has that down, because it's such an important technique for him. And he's just very focused and very set, not really taking in anything else. He's kind of drowned out the noise around him and focusing on this one technique as much as he can.
Okay. As you attempt to perfect the as you go through the process of the practice regime again, as you kind of swing your sword out in a wide arc, you hear a whoa! And as you turn to look, there's a courier that's on a back foot, like chin pulled into chest, having seemingly just avoided the tip of your new, like, of your short sword that you've recently started using, along with the magic dagger that you've acquired. The courier looks like like he watches his face, this Laravel man's face blushes bright red from embarrassment, and then he, Mr. And he looks at a letter, Cal?
That's me.
I have a missive for you, and he, like, gingerly holds an arm out with this letter towards you, and, like, tiptoes in until you are able to take it from him.
I take it.
The courier nods, and if I could just get a signature, please, he says.
I'm not going to bite you.
Well, it's not biting that I'm worried about, he says, eyeing the two blades in your hands.
Like, I think, as before he takes the missive with one, like, he puts the dagger away, takes the missive, and then he kind of does this kind of very, like, impressive sword trick to put the other sword away. And the signs, and it's quite casually, just like, I thought about being a courier once. The signs are missive.
The courier kind of, like, nods, and then you watch as this, like, Laravel civilian just kind of glances around this training courtyard, and, like, he visibly flinches as this spellcaster conjures this mote of fire and then accidentally detonates one of the training dummies. And you see this young goblin girl going, "Oh no, not again, not again," she says as she looks at the flaming pieces of wood and hay on the ground. And the courier looks at you, and it's certainly a quieter life, he says. And he sort of, like, nods, and you see him sort of produce one final letter, and then he looks over his shoulder, and you see him disappear into the drinks hall, like the mess hall. And inside the mess hall, there are raucous laughter, there's kind of jovial jeering, cheering, the sounds of, like, tankards being crashed together, like bragful boasts from one person to another, as the heart of the Explorers Guild draws all of the proudest and loudest of the explorers. And in the middle of the boasting crowds is a wolfkin man with like shoulder-length white hair and a large furred cloak. And Vanya, what gregarious brag have you just levelled at your accomplishments opponent?
This probably was stemmed from a conversation from some other explorer party who's just recently arrived, and they probably told tale of their successful mission in slaying some kind of beast, and Vanya sort of responds like, "I've never heard of such a creature before. I wish I had something like that to fight. You know what I fought last? This strange magic golem. What fun is that?" And he's like, but like it's all like part bragging, but part like sharing a tale of his recent exploits, and like cheersing these local explorers, building like this sort of bantery camaraderie, as like almost like a welcome back, folks.
The keeper kind of in front of you, this kind of almost 9 foot tall, bearded, like giant of a creature. He, like bare arms that are covered in tattoos and sort of like decorative scars, and sort of like piercings. Like his tail swishes as he kind of leans back as you complain about the golem, and there's no meat on a golem, that's for sure, this keeper bellows, and as he sort of like laughs, the rings kind of punctured through his forehead horns kind of jingle slightly, and he kind of slaps the table in front of you, and then the keeper looks down to you and, although, what was it made of? Perhaps it was edible if you had tried hard enough.
No, I did get something from it. 'Cause magic sometimes leaves like a residue, and sometimes stone builds minerals and such, and there was this strange, like, salt on some parts of the joints, and while my comrades weren't looking, I was scraping a little bit, and I've been testing it out, and it works a bit like a salt. Slight different taste, but it is good.
This Laravar woman with, like, a shaved bald head, like, looks at you with this incredulous look, and are you eating magic dust?
Yeah. I mean, do it has a name?
But the Laravar woman just like blinks a few times, and then you notice her eyes flick to something over your shoulder. And as you all turn to look, there's a courier that sort of like stood awkwardly at the side of this group, and I thought a rat once was the size of a dog. And then there's this awkward silence that just kind of spreads across the table.
You gotta start somewhere.
Mr. Vanier, he says, looking around the table.
Yes, that'd be me.
And he hands you a letter. Like, realising he's kind of lost the crowd, he just also offers the signature pad, and just, like, points at it rather than say any more in front of the explorers.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Pass it here. Words, yes. There you go.
The courier nods and, have a good day, everyone, he says as he clears his throat and then, like, grabs the straps of his backpack and messenger bag and then sort of, like, jogs out of the hall. As you sniff the envelope, it smells very crisp. It smells of a, like, whatever tree it was manufactured from was a ripe tree, to be sure, a strong tree.
Good.
Yeah, as you peer at this letter, it is sealed with a royal blue stamp. Like, Vanier, as you glance over, Cal, are you heading in? Because you know Vanier's always drinking in the mess hall, but...
Yeah, it's got letter in one hand, like, tankard in the other.
Yes, so Cal, you've seen the courier also give Vanier a missive. So as you head in, who of the other three do you spy coming in, like, arriving at the mess hall? With Rayri, Africa, and Azakar?
I feel like Rayri is more likely to be in the mess hall. I get a vibe that he would want to come and find whoever's. She'd know that Vanya and Cal probably spend most of their time in these particular rooms, whether they're training together or Vanya's drinking and Cal is sulking. Brooding. Whatever he's doing. So yeah, like these are like frequent places to find the two of us.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a surprise whoever is coming to find us, but I think Rayleigh is the closest, unless it's between Alfric and Rayleigh. But I'm gonna say Rayleigh because I felt more convenient.
Sure. Well, Rayleigh, as you enter in, I can only imagine there are points where you almost have to sort of like drag your faithful mount, Vinny, along by the collar as his head sort of like tilts towards the kitchens of the Explorers Guild. And you see his snoot going into overdrive as he takes in the aromas of the slow cooking meats and sort of like veg that they're preparing in there.
Piece of jerky flies through the air.
And Vinny, there's an audible chomp as Vinny catches some of this jerky. Ravi, as you kind of enter into the Explorers like mess hall, who was it you bumped into on your way back here between the other two?
Bumped into Alfric and gave him a pile of leaflets to give out as he enters.
Okay.
He's dutifully got them in his clawed hand.
Oh, you got to speak to everyone. I know you don't need shoes, but people do need shoes. Do you wear shoes? You got big feet. I don't know if you wear shoes.
I'm sure you would find me a good pair of shoes.
You could get 4 tippy-tap shoes per foot, and they'll go on one on each claw.
Just on each claw.
On each talon. Just
Perfect.
show off the whole set.
Perfect. Okay, in which case, yeah, Ravi, as you and Vinny like stride across to where Vanya Cal are, Azakar, you're the last to arrive, and you are confronted by Alfric, who's kind of got a handout with a leaflet for tippy taps in hand.
A slightly glazed look in his eye.
Azakar just looks at him, just no expression, no. Just walks past.
Amazing. Well, as you convene, Alfric, you're able to you chance upon a passing kind of gaggle of goblins, and you're able to just like hand out all of the leaflets in quick succession. One of the goblins sort of like. He's just, oh yeah, we'll have them. Oh yeah, 10% off. Oh yeah, absolutely. And you miss the slightly mischievous swish of the goblin's tail as he like takes the leaflets off you. And yeah, grand.
Thank you so much.
And the 5 of you finally manage to take your seats on one of the long benches in the mess hall. And between the 5 of you, how long do you reckon it's been since your trip to Islebridge? In, say, weeks? A couple of weeks?
Well, yeah, I'd say a couple of weeks. I guess it depends on how long it takes to set up a shop in Avon.
Yeah, I suppose that's kind of the
not that long.
I was thinking like 4 weeks. So
4 weeks? Okay.
that was my
4 weeks sounds about right.
Let's say 4 weeks. Yeah, it takes quite a while to get the permissions and the paperwork through the guilds and so on.
All the shoes.
All the shoes. Yeah, all the shoes have got to be made. Okay. In which case, yeah, as the 5 of you take a seat, you all notice that Vanier has on the bench in front of him a letter identical to the ones you've all received as well.
Oh, you got a letter as well? I've got one of those. She takes like a half-chewed one that Vinny's had. Just... I haven't opened it yet, though. I don't really like opening letters. I'm just worried it might be like a bill or something.
Vanya at this point has definitely got a round of drinks coming on the way. Seeing that his companions have been slowly sort of coming through. So hopefully the barmaid starts like putting down the tankards as we're talking, but it's like I've opened it, but what is this?
It's a letter.
It is good to see you all again, my friends. And he like just goes switches from like this like 2 different like emotions as he like starts trying to like embrace everyone for a big hug, even if they don't want it. It's like, come, lads, come. Let's just figure this out. You got one
Maybe
too.
just gets on the table, just hugs his head.
Oh. And yeah, slips like another bit of jerky for Vinny. Just to keep him happy.
Between Cal and Azakar, well, I say both of you actually. What do you make of the fact that these missives hold the seal of the council?
It means it's official. It means that it's important. Cal doesn't like that. Gives him the ick. Just a bit. No. I think we should read these letters and see what they are.
What are you talking about? Have you not read them yet?
No, I've literally just received mine. I walked in and Vanya was here. I haven't read it yet.
That's the only reason why I'm here, is because I've read it.
I have opened mine, but
I was slightly
I need
nervous
like
too.
a breakdown.
Fine, I'm gonna open my letter.
Okay. So, Alfred, did you say you were too nervous to open yours?
Slightly nervous.
Okay. Dear Azakar, Ravi, Alfred, Cal, Vanya, I hope you are well. It would seem that you and your companions and yourself have been building quite a reputation within the Explorers Guild, the Explorers Society. And you have attracted the attention of one of our own. At your earliest convenience, please see us at Fengaran Keep in the in the Towers district, so we may discuss your new patrons' requests further. Yours faithfully and magically, Archmagister Meridius Redan. And you remember Meridius to be, well, he is the Archmagister, so the leader of the Council of Mages. He's bumped into you a few times. You've spoken to him on occasion. He's effectively the leader of the spellcasters, the wizards of Avamore. Yes, it seems that the five of you have all been summoned to Fengaran Keep, which you all know the location of. It's a very prim and proper, like manor come almost like fortified. It's a fortified manor of sorts that serves as the base of operations for the Council of Mages.
Yeah, Vanya, you're like seeing everyone receiving a letter, starts to like get a buzz, and he's like, "Are we all going on another adventure again? I've been getting drunk and lazy of late. I need to get back in the action."
You're always drunk.
Oh, only on our rest days, which is every day.
I would request that you sober up. This is
plenty
high
sober.
importance.
As he's like, big.
Two in each hand.
I'm fine.
So we all got one. Alfred got one.
He's an explorer now.
Come on, Alfred.
Yes, Alfric got one.
Yes, I got one in the library. See? And he like pushes it across the table. I mean, I am an explorer.
That's from your mum and dad.
Oh, sorry. He like tucks it away. It's just the right one across.
See?
That's for later.
Your hard work is paying off and you're being recognized. Well done. He gives a massive pat on the back.
It's just like flat on the table.
Is there anything that any of the five of you are burning to do before you make your way up to Thingaren? Or if not, we will smash cut.
Yes.
New
finish my
shoes for
drink.
everyone.
Well, but beyond the ever-present need for festivities and drinking, have you got any kind of prior engagements before, or shall we smash over?
Smash it.
Smash it.
Smash it. Okay. In which case, as you take, well, I mean, when it comes to mages, they're usually quite tardy anyway, so you certainly are allowed to take your time somewhat. You finish your drinks, you finish you order and finish your meals. By the time you begin making your way north up through Avamore, following the river that bisects the city from north to south, the sun is beginning its descent towards the horizon. The sky is turning ever so slightly, beginning to shift from like a sky blue to a more pinkish hue. And before long, you find yourself stood in front of the rather impressive-looking Thingaren Keep. The large arched gate that leads into the Thingaren Keep grounds is flanked by a number of spell guardians. They look at the five of you from under royal blue hoods, and the runes on their magical gloves thrumming with energy, and they nod at you in turn as they bid you enter. It's ever so good of you to join us, Meridius starts once you're in the kind of the meeting hall. He's got you sat around at one end of this 25-30 foot long table in this kind of grand hall, and perhaps worryingly, food is being conjured onto the plates in front of you. A second dinner, if you will. But it's a good. I'm thankful that you joined so promptly. Meridius says, as I mentioned in my letter, you have been making quite the waves throughout the city, and your recent exploits have drawn some eyes in your direction. Tell me, how are you finding being explorers? And he, as he says that, you notice his eyes fall mostly on you, Alfric.
I mean, it's wonderful doing what we do, isn't it?
Meridius nods. Yes, I'm always blown away by the bottomless courage and determination that the explorers have exhibited since the eschaton, and for that you have my sincerest thanks. But unfortunately, it was not myself who summoned you here. Who was asked for an audience with you. That would be my esteemed colleague, he says. And as he gestures down the table, he seemingly gestures to nothing, like an empty space in the hall. And then as he holds his hand, you see this kind of ripple of light materialize in the air, and it spreads open to form a personal, like a one-person portal. And through it steps a Lorivar man with neat, combed back brown hair. He looks quite young, younger than Meridius, and he steps forward with this kind of deep blue top with this kind of red maroon cloak hanging off his back. In fact, I could probably show you this. Yes. So yeah, deep blue top, maroon cloak. From the cloak comes over his shoulders and meets at a silver diamond clasp in front of his breastbone. There are kind of these golden prong-like shoulder pads that jut from his shoulders. And as he steps through the portal, there is a resonant boom as he places a white marble staff on the ground. The staff is topped with an almost trident-like blue crystal tip, like a power focus, a magical focus of some sort. And like Meridius, like his hand now gesturing to the exact spot that this Lorivar mage is now occupying, finishes his sentence. Explorers, meet Ganus Morenz. Ganus, you're explorers, he says. And the young mage sort of like nods to you all as he approaches. You notice that he sort of like, he releases his staff and he just stays in place as he approaches you with his hands kind of clasped at the small of his back. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to meet with me. I must admit I'm somewhat in awe of the things that you have accomplished. You've certainly been busy, he says, as he looks to you all in turn. As the Archmagister has said, my name is Ganus Morenz. I'm hoping that you will... Well, I have an opportunity that I hope you will accompany me on. It is a mission that I'm sure your skills would be a fortuitous boon to add to proceedings. But my apologies. I do have a propensity for wittering. May I? He says to you, Cal, as he gestures to the seat next to you.
If you must.
Ganus nods and takes a seat. So the role that the mission that I would hope you will accompany me on is one of some peril. But that's why I decided to source you out. You, the five of you, have proven yourself capable, as well as adaptive to a wide variety of problems and threats. I've heard of some of your exploits at Cayley Point. From what I understand, an undead apparition as large as that ghost ship being vanquished so quickly is quite phenomenal, I must say. He says, looking at you, Rayri. Rayri and Azakar. And from what I've heard, your discoveries beneath the Crystal Tower to the north of New Prosper, that has caused quite the commotion amongst our circle. So we thank you for bringing our attentions to that. But again, forgive me, I'm wittering. The mission that I would bid you join me on is to a region called Merathesos. It is a region of some sadness for us in Avamore. It is our expedition to that region actually failed. One of the few and rare failures of explorer expeditions since the Eschaton. it proved the environment proved a bit too inhospitable, and the expedition were harried by forces of the betrayers. Whilst the betrayers were defeated, their backs broken and cast to the wind, the expedition weren't able to find the location of their stronghold before they had to retreat back to safer climates. But I believe, he says, waggling a finger, that the power exhibited by those forces of the betrayers that assailed the expedition were powerful enough that whatever they have stored within that stronghold will be positively... it would be incredible for us to be able to acquire those, if nothing more than to deprive the enemy of their very power. If you agree, and I truly hope you do, I would bid you join me, venture to Merethesos, find the location of this betrayer stronghold, and bring back any powerful magical items back to Avamore for safekeeping and perhaps use in a more constructive and positive manner. What say you all?
Sounds fine to me.
If it is anything to go against the betrayers, I am always in.
I'm in.
Nothing better to do.
Gannis's face falls to you, Cal, as the last to respond.
If that's what you need of me.
Yes, I'm more than confident that your combined skills is just what this mission needs to achieve full success, and I am greatly humbled that the five of you would join me in this matter. If there's nothing else, Archmagister, I have other duties to attend to. If you have any questions about the mission, the Archmagister is fully briefed, so he will be able to answer any and all. But once again, I thank you all, Gannis says as he rises to his feet. He stops, and of course, you will be generously rewarded. This mission is of the utmost importance, if not just for the Council of Mages, but also for the faith and the ruling houses. So, yes, for the any threat that you may put yourselves in the line of, you will be more than fairly rewarded. And yeah, Gannis thinks to see if there's anything else, and then deciding there's not, kind of slaps his hips. And with that, I bid you farewell. And he takes a step back, holds his hand out, and the staff slides across the polished stone floor into his hand. Explorers, he says with a bow. Archmagister, he says with a second bow. And he begins to walk sort of like past you all towards the door that you came in, but before he reaches it, a portal opens and he steps through that instead. And Meridius is left sat at the head of the table. He's now kind of like leaning on one arm, and there's this wry smirk on his face. He's an eager little chap, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Makes a flashy entrance, that's for sure.
Would any of us know who Gannis is?
No. So Gannis is not a name that any of the five of you have heard. And Meridius seems to almost kind of read the question on your mind, Azakar, and then bolstered by what Ray's just said. Gannis is, he's our newest Archmagister elect, and his intentions are true. The expedition to Merethisos was unfortunately a failure. We managed to save who we could, but his theory is correct. Wherever those betrayers were holed up, there's probably some very powerful stuff in there that we could use for the rediscovery.
So this is a retrieval mission.
It's a yes, retrieval, investigation. Think of it as a more exciting stock take. It's a logistical mission of sorts, but
Well, there's a difference between, securing the site to retrieving some goods to take back to Avamore.
Well, as he said, the expedition were able to defeat the forces of the betrayer that assailed them during their expedition, but unfortunately the casualties that were inflicted upon the expedition were too great for them to carry on. That, combined with Merethesos's unfortunate circumstances during the eschaton, they just didn't have enough resource and supply left in them to be able to stick the landing, so to speak. But yes, it's certainly a bold mission. I won't deny that I suspect that Gannis is striving to create as good an impression on the Council of Mages as he possibly can, given that will support his nomination to Archmagister should this in the future. I suspect he's just trying to impress as many people as he can.
Am I right in saying that he'll be joining us from what he was saying?
He will, yes. He will be joining you. He is a mage of surprising power. So his abilities, I'm sure, will complement your own wonderfully. He will also then act as a lead, a decision maker. It will be like a mini expedition in of itself.
And what were these forces exactly?
Were
they mages, creatures?
It was all, from the reports from the expedition members, it was all manner of people, of beasts, of manifestations, myriad legions from various, like a number of the betrayer gods. We believe that the stronghold may well be a temple of sorts to Naravid, he says, and there's a slight twinge in his face as he says the god's name. Who's got at least 0 in knowledge?
Me.
Got 0.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So Rayri, it's just you that's like, I don't know who I don't know who's who among the dragons, but you know that Naravid is one of the betrayer gods, and is sometimes known as the Doomsayer. During the war, Naravid's precognitive visions of the future were sometimes both a blessing and a curse to the forces of Akan during the war. Being able to see the future, to manipulate events. To the more disparaging members of the faith, Naravid was nothing more than a 10 copper fortune teller. But yeah, it could be argued how much of an effect Naravid's powers had on the war. Yes. The vast majority of the forces were defeated, but we can't be sure for certain what's left. There may be some forces that have retreated to the stronghold, to this maybe temple, but I suspect that's where the 5 of your abilities come in.
Oh wait, I was thinking that it is most likely that it's been reoccupied since sometimes elapsed since this expedition.
Perhaps it has been a few months since it has been about a month and a half since the expedition returned. So there may be new residents in this temple. Whether or not they were the previous tenants or not, we couldn't say.
Well, I am ready for whatever may come.
Marvellous.
Where going to go?
He sort of looks over to everyone else.
In which case, as the expedition to Merethesos was not successful, a stable portal was never established. However, I have advised the portaliers at the concourse to provide you passage to Merethesos. Partly also why Gannis is going to be quite crucial to your group, to make sure, if nothing else, that you arrive in the right place. So, whenever is good for you, please make your way to the concourse. Gannis will meet you there, and then you can hopefully be there and back in time for supper.
If the portal's not there, how do we get back?
Gannis will be able to provide you passage back as well.
What if we lose Gannis?
I would rather you didn't, actually, Rayri.
I wasn't planning to. You've got to think of all outcomes, don't you?
Gannis is more than capable, as are yourselves. So, well, in the unlikely circumstance that you were to lose Gannis, well, it's a long walk back. And he gives you
keep him alive.
Yes, Meridius gives you a face that just says, "Don't tempt the walk."
Foreshadowing is a literary device.
So, does anyone else have any further questions?
Was it just us 5 you asked?
Correct.
Wasn't anyone else? Didn't ask a little goblin with a kind of lisp. We've adventured with him before.
Meridius thinks about it, and no, it was just the 5 of you, actually.
Oh, I thought he had real potential.
Oh, what about that lady we travelled with that once?
Oh yeah, with the pointy hat.
Yeah.
Lucretia, yes. Lucretia has already been called away on another mission, unfortunately. But again, whilst Lucretia has ties with yourselves, it was very specifically the 5 of you that Gannis requested.
I just look over at Alfric, and I'm like,
That's our kid. That's our kid.
Does Meridius looks to you, Azakar? Any questions?
No, if you believe this is an important mission against the betrayers, I am at your service.
Meridius nods. Yes, I do. Again, anything we can do to deprive the enemy of powerful weapons or artifacts, He turns to Cal with raised eyebrows.
I have no reason not to do the same.
Meridius kind of claps. Marvellous. Well, unless anyone else has any questions, please tuck into your meals. It's getting to around dinner time. You must all be famished. He says as Vanya's just Tasmanian deviling his way through his food.
Just like he's a bit shocked about magic food. Food that's just been magic because he works hard for his cooking. So he's really like chewing through it, almost with like this like over the top disdain for the fact this is just being whipped up magically.
It tastes
not real hard work.
It tastes incredible. Like it's got the flavors that you would expect of it, but it's just got that little extra like zhuzh that makes it really moreish. And as Meridius watches you plowing through this food, he says, and the best thing is no calories.
Well, but
you need
that.
calories.
Yeah, we need that.
No, don't worry, everyone. I have specifically packed a lot in case we went on some other adventure. I've got plenty of good, nutritious food ready to whip up a meal at any time. I've got you.
As like, are you producing? Are you going to a dinner
I'm
party
like pulling
and
out
producing more food?
Well, just like bringing like just showing like
I even brought veg this time, and we're gonna make sure we get your carbs as well. And
and he's just like just showing a few pieces that he's just like he's purposely gone to the market and like bought extra supplies just on the off chance.
Amazing. Okay.
While everyone's distracted, Ravi's just going to pour her plate into Vinny's open mouth. Just...
the
yum yum, really good.
Okay, as the sounds of Vanier's and Vinny's chops smacking echo through this hall, we fast forward to a little while later, outside of, well, you've left Fengaran Keep. You feel, well, Vanya at the very least, you feel full, but it's, I don't know, you know when you eat a Chinese, like real world talk, when you eat a Chinese and you're really, really full and then like a very short while later you feel really hungry again? That. Yeah, you've made your way to the concourse, so the kind of it's effectively like a large plaza area, kind of ornamental, decorative pillars surrounded by sort of like shrub type bushes and fences and walkways. And the paving stones underfoot are a meticulously kind of cleaned white like light white stone. And in this sort of like large, almost kind of Colosseum-like building in the middle of this plaza, there are a number of kind of spell guardians and portaliers kind of mingling about. You can see that there are trading wagons kind of heading into the concourse, presumably at the end of a day's worth of work, heading back to their respective expedition established settlements. But as you approach, one of the portaliers kind of notices the five of you and kind of gestures you over. And as you approach, you hear, I must admit, I'm very excited for this, as Gannis says as he kind of appears alongside you. It's been quite a time since I've been out in the wilds with adventurers, explorers such as yourselves.
Did you not originally go on the exhibition?
I was unfortunately not part of the expedition to Mirror Thesos, no. But from listening to the accounts from those who made it back, most obviously were more than happy to with the safety of the expedition members, but from their stories I realised that there was a facet of the tale that hadn't quite been explored, and here we are.
And you've done much adventuring before?
I've been on I've been on a few ventures, but I assure you my arcane acumen and ability is well honed.
Well, you can certainly count on us.
I'm counting on it, he says as he smiles to the five of you. Our portal awaits, shall we? Gannis speaks to the portalier. You're kind of moved into an area away from the sort of like the travelling traders and other kind of comers and goers. And between Gannis and Gannis provides a parchment of runic instructions to the portalier. The portalier's reading it and looks a little shocked, looks a little surprised before kind of clearing her throat, and you see this sort of like this Wolfkin woman pulls the hood up over her head as she closes her eyes and begins incanting, and orange runes appear in a circle around your feet, and Gannis sort of like scurries in between amongst the five of you and sort of like clutches his staff, clutches it close to his chest, and it's always the lurch in the stomach that gets me, he says. And in a flash of light, the runes ignite. You're enveloped in this kind of sphere of energy, and a moment later, you are in a different place entirely. As the sensation of rushing wind leaves your ears, as that lurch in your stomach settles after a feeling of plummeting through nothingness for both an incredibly short and an incredibly prolonged period of time. The smell of tangy ozone lingering in the air. As your visions begin to stabilise, you find yourselves in this large, kind of flat, plains-like area. Around you, you can see that the runes have scorched themselves into this veritable bed of orange moss that covers what appears to be kind of rolling black, like a porous rolling black floor underfoot. Who's got a instinct or knowledge of at least one?
Me.
Okay. So
instinct too.
So those four of you then, as you look down, you realise the stone floor, the stone ground that you're stood on is cooled magma flow. It is volcanic rock. And what is curious about this volcanic rock, as I say, is this rug of orange moss that carpets it so thickly it looks like an orange grassland, almost.
Like my hair.
Very much like your hair, yeah. Like around, you can see, like from the ebb and flow of the stone of the ground that you're stood on, you can see that this volcanic flow once, primarily originated from the mountains you can see in the distance. And looking, like, putting two and two together based on what the mages were saying earlier, you suspect that during the eschaton, the volcanoes, like the mountain range, must have erupted and annihilated this area with lava flow. And your suspicions are somewhat confirmed as you peer up to the mountains in the distance, lighting the sky like miniature suns in the dusk light, are floating orbs of magma that just gently and lazily bob up and down and float through the air, carried around on stream, just idly kind of floating. Every so often you watch as two kind of collide into one another, and they slowly there's resistance, and then they kind of glob together. It's almost like the globules within a lava lamp. And you notice that the cooler, the brighter of these lava globes, the more active seem to be a bit higher, but there are some which seemingly are beginning to cool down. There's a crust, like a black crust, beginning to form on their outer surfaces, and they're kind of lowering down back towards the ground a bit more. Besides that, you see like pillars that look like it looks like a magma like a magma fall that is just kind of dried and crusted, that they jut from the ground like stalagmites. And there's just this eerie but peaceful feel to the area. And Gannis takes in a deep breath and, well, we've arrived where we were supposed to, he says, as he looks around at this relatively featureless, moss-covered barren. And he looks around trying to find, looking for the sun. Okay, so if we need to go that way, he says, and he gestures. We'll make as much time as we can while the sun's up, but we'll soon need to make camp. We'll set up a watch, and then in the morning we'll have a full day's worth of travel before we reach the temple. I understand you've brought provisions, he says, looking at you, Vanya.
Yes. I mean, I don't know how long we're out here for, but I've got quite a lot of provisions.
He nods. Marvellous. Well, I look forward to snacking on them tonight, but after you, explorers, he says as he gestures in the direction of travel.
I think Riri, seeing the environment, feels a little I don't know, it kind of brings her back to what happened previously to her hometown, and she just, without really knowing what she's doing, she just holds on to Cal's coattail and just holds on. She doesn't really realise she's doing it. Just holds on and just kind of waits for somebody else to start moving.
Oh,
just looking a bit like
Vanya's going forward.
In which case, Cal, as you watch Vanya stride on, as you feel kind of Riri grip at your side. The five of you look across this bizarre kind of globular shaped landscape in front of you, as the orange moss changes hue slightly as the sky overhead descends into night, and as the six of you begin your journey, let's have a quick break. So, we will go on a quick break for probably until about 22, so it's going to be about 13 minutes. If you're enjoying the story or you're interested to see what happens next, make sure to hit the like button, so hit the subscribe button, and hello if you're on Twitch. If you're watching this on Twitch, this is the first time we've been on Twitch. I think you follow us here, something like that. Do whatever it is that you do to see us on Twitch. But yeah, we will be back at 20 to 10. Thank you for watching. See you in a bit. Bye.